listening to Crushing It with Connie White. This podcast, I'm going to torture you and try to do a solo podcast by myself. So bear with me. Never done that. I'm going to step outside of a major box, as I always say, and do something that's probably a little bit uncomfortable. Just kind of, what Sydney's telling me is kind of ramble on a little bit about my life, real estate, and what's going on. So here we go. Um, this week was an exciting week in real estate. I have been working with a couple for possibly 3 weeks, and we have been struggling finding a house for them just because inventory is so low. And when we go out and look at houses, it just seems to be an open house every home. There's 40 real estate agents and clients looking at property, and next thing we're in a multiple offer situation of 16. And then sometimes we're waiting 2 and 3 days to find an answer and still going out looking at more houses just in case we don't get a house. We've got more, that we're getting ready to write an offer on to try to secure a home. And what's interesting is I've never seen real estate like this. So for me, I think I've come full circle in a sense that I got into real estate when the market was bad. The market had just failed. And of course, everybody heard of the big crash. So I got in after the crash thinking, well, I've got nowhere to go but up. So even though, it was hard back then, I didn't know it any other way but to be new and to, do my best at it. But this is different. It's just different now to see that we just don't have enough homes on the market for sale. We're struggling. We're struggling as realtors right now, in the industry, especially us who've made this a career. This isn't, a side gig, a side hustle, a part-time job. It's a full-time career. So I've talked to fellow realtors who are like me. This is what they do 7 days a week, and it's just kind of difficult right now. So thrilled for Emily and Kyle. Just excited that we found a house for them. So, for me personally, it's like it's a check. I got one down, and I've got several more to go. So in the same situation, but at least I did find, a couple a home, and that's what we're supposed to do. I know we've got a lot of cash buyers coming in. I think we've got a lot of cash rental property companies coming in as well, and those rental property companies, they're taking homes away from our local people who are wanting to buy. And everybody deserves home ownership, but I'm almost going to make an appeal to some of the sellers out here. I know it's appealing to have these companies buy your home cash, but maybe we could stop and rethink about putting some families back in some homes and not just have rental property. But wrapping back around, I'm excited, for my clients because they were, crying, if they lost. They were excited for the opportunity, and now they have it. So, new homeowners in Somerville in less than 30 days. So that's exciting. I guess what's interesting about this business is like, the friendships. I've been getting some phone calls lately from some of my colleagues from other real estate companies, and I call them colleagues because we're in the same field. So to me, they're colleagues and they're friends. And they were just calling me to see like if I had any homes coming up, if what I'm seeing as far as just the industry itself, the changes, which I'm honored they call me because these are people that I feel are mentors and staples in our industry. And so it's exciting that they call me. Very honored. And, sometimes I like, working, independently. It's sometimes nice to hear from other brokerages, other agents and brokerages, just to see what their struggles are or what their successes are, just kind of compare some notes. So I like that. That's what I like about real estate. When you've got good agents who don't mind sharing and kind of just, communicating back and forth, telling each other where they're at. Sometimes we don't always do that because it sounds like it's a weakness, but it's not. I think, being kind of raw and honest with people is showing how they can trust you and you can trust them. So I like that. I guess what else is interesting that happened to me in real estate this week was a couple listings I think I am going to have coming on in Somerville. So, any agents out there who may be listening to this podcast, I've got a really great neighborhood with two listings coming up. I feel pretty confident about those. Um, and just excited about always real estate, and what's going on. So even though it's kind of an odd time where we're at right now, I think that's something that's going to pass. We're hopeful that the spring will bring more potential, homes on the market. So I'm excited about that. Um, just like today, every day, like your phone rings, it's a different opportunity. Um, a past client of mine works at the medical university. And so she's passed my name on. I've talked to two physicians today who may be moving to town and, working at, the medical university. So that's exciting. And I think that's what I like, waking up in real estate. Sometimes I have my day planned and I know there are some things that are set, home inspections, CL100s, a closing, an appraisal, but then sometimes your phone rings and it's something different like that. Like to have an opportunity to work with two physicians coming into town, taking on new jobs, showing them the area, which is pretty cool for me since I've lived in this area for 45 years. I'm pretty familiar. Even I think back when I was in first grade, I lived in Charleston, West Ashley, 3 years before we moved on and then came back. So I've seen a lot of changes. I've been here for quite a long time. And I would just watch Charleston grow. So besides Charleston growing, just Somerville, those who are here local, there's a road West Ashley called Sam Rittenberg Boulevard. And when we lived there, when I was in first grade, it was a 2-lane highway. And now it's a four lane, it's just madness. And just a lot of growth. Somerville, when I talk about Main Street to people, it was cows. It was a 2-lane highway with farms and cows and horses, where Walmart is, and now that's well out of control as far as its growth, as far, just the traffic's crazy. So to show, for people coming into town to have lived here as long as I've lived, it's kind of exciting to know that, I can give them a history. Sadly to say that, sometimes when people are riding in the car with me and they're up in the area in which I went to school, they have to hear about people that I went to school with and where my bus stopped. So, I think those are kind of funny, cute stories. It kind of ties me and roots me into this area. So that's, it's just kind of fun stories to share with people to show that I'm real. It's a professional job. There's no doubt. But I think when you're bonding with people to come and move into the area, I think a lot of it is just being real with them and showing them your life, your lifestyle, your experiences, so that they feel comfortable. I've got a young lady moving. She's closing next week on a house. And I remember when she flew into town, we talked on the phone. She flew into town. I picked her up one morning from her hotel, and here's this lady just, trusting me to jump in my car. And we spent the day together. And I gave her a huge tour of our area. And then we ended up, after talking and driving and popping in new construction, popping in pre-owned homes, she fell in love with a home with double porches. And so we ended up in Carnes Crossroads, and she is, Carnes Crossing, she's going to close on her house next week. Beautiful home with double porches. But how amazing is that she talked to me on the phone. We bonded enough to trust that she knew that she could trust me to put her in a hotel room where she was safe and fly into town and let me pick her up, spend the day with her, drop her back off at her hotel. The next day we went back to new construction, finished up the contract, and then she flew back out, and we have been in contact ever since. And I don't just consider her a friend. I mean, a client, I do consider a friend. So that's what I try to do, is try to turn everybody from client to friendship, because her living here, she has no other resource. And so she's got me. So she's got to come here. I know she's going to find a job. But to know that her realtor is not just a realtor, it's a friend and a resource in the area, is what I try to aim for. So it's not just about the job. It's about the performance of my job because I have to do that, but it's also what happens after the transaction closes, that there's people, behind this that they can count on, and it's that trusting relationship. So I think that's pretty exciting. So I'm happy that that was like a 9-month process because we started it, when all the nonsense and mess of COVID and supplies and, permitting, but, we're finally here. So that's exciting about real estate as well. When you get, not everybody's going to buy a house now and buy in 30 days. It's fun to help people in new construction, and it could take a 7 to 10 month process depending on the house and the conditions. So it's like there's just always something going on in your pipeline in real estate. So that's what's pretty cool. It's not just, we go out today, we're going to find a house, look at a house, find a house, write a contract, ratify a contract, close in 30 days. There's a different process all the time. I've got a client closing next week on a house that they're letting the sellers rent back until their new construction home is complete. And I think that's, pretty much July or August. So it's nice to see a buyer and seller come together and help each other out. So my clients were at a point where they could buy the house this month, but they don't have to move in it until August. And so that's pretty cool when you can see people, like I said, come together and in hand helping each other. So it's not just about, hey, I'm buying your house, closing on the 31st, get out, be out by then. It's, hey, you have a need. Well, we can help you and extend that. And, when you see people coming together and making that extension of that helping hand, that's I really like seeing that, because sometimes we lose a lot of faith in what's going on in our world with people. So that kind of pulls it back in to say, hey, we can unite. We can be reasonable. We can think about, how we're supposed to act and respond and help people. So, that was, a really good process, within this 30 days of what's been going on, for my clients. So we're thrilled. I'm trying to think anything else exciting that has happened. There's definitely some things that have happened in my life probably in the past 30 days that I'm going to save for a future podcast. I know a lot of people know that, I switched over to EXP, but a couple other things have happened that I think will be a spinoff of several different type of podcasts that probably need to be talked about and said. So I will, as my assistant says, I'll put a pin in it, which I think is kind of funny. I have to learn her new terminology, so I'm going to put a pin in it, and I'll save that for a different podcast in the future. I'm thinking about, some of the relationships I have in real estate that it make it a lot easier for me is like my mortgage lender. They're absolutely on point with me. I know you met through one of my other podcasts. You probably listened to Meg with Guild Mortgage. If you haven't, you need to kind of pop back in on that and listen to her talking about mortgages and financing. I've got a couple other lenders that I'm partnering with as well, and I'm going to have them on a future podcast. So I won't talk about that one right now until we're able to let them, say what they want to say and introduce themselves into the podcast world. But it's exciting with that. I know that I can talk to my lender, whether it be, in the 7 o'clock in the morning, we do a catch up, whether it's, 7 o'clock at night, and they're available on the weekends. So they're very instrumental in my success as far as, the support that I get, because, I'm as good as I can possibly be with good supporting staff. So supporting staff, is my lender. It is my home inspector. It is my, the company I use for termite inspections. It's my general contractor or my repair person. It's my assistant, because I couldn't do a lot of this without her. I definitely wouldn't be in front of this microphone without her. And so, I can only be as good as the people that I surround me with, which again, that spins off into a whole nother level of a podcast of, who you are, how you are, and what you are is also the people that surround you. And so I've got a lot of good people around me, and my family's very supportive. I've dug into real estate so hard that, I probably sacrificed a lot for my career, and I missed out on some football games and some baseball games, or I came walking in late, in my heels, just so I could hurry up and get there and watch the kids play. But they're very supportive of the career. And they're okay about the sacrifices that I made because I think it made them better in their career. That they understood that, to achieve, you have to make sacrifices. To be successful, you have to make some sacrifices. Yeah, and so I think that, with what my kids have watched, my dedication to my career and the sacrifices that I have made, that they, when I hear them talk about their careers, when I hear them talk about, of course, Ronnie again, I'm always going to go back to Ronnie working at the hospital, Michael being a police officer. I hear them taking on different shifts, taking on extra shifts, taking on, double shifts. I think Michael even, he'll pick up, like, helping out. I hate to say picking up, that's not probably a nice word, but, helping out with funerals and the escort of funerals. And so I'm proud of them because that's the sacrifices that they make, and knowing that they have to be helpful in their career as well. So it's not just about doing the job, clocking out, going home, because theirs is very stressful in between. If I think mine is stressful just in sales, I couldn't imagine, hearing the stories of what they have to deal with. That's stressful. And then to extend, from working a 12-hour shift to a 16-hour shift, and the conditions in which they work, or the stress in which they work, I'm very proud. I'm very proud of them that they give back, that they care, that they have work ethic, that they pick that up from their dad and me as far as giving and caring. But we've always been that family. And just to kind of know some history about me as well, I sometimes I seem like all I do is talk about real estate, but I've been so much more than that. And what was really cool with my kids growing up, and with Michael and Ronnie being 9 years apart, it's like I had two lives. So when Ronnie was coming up, and he has his friends, and he played sports, he went to Stratford, so football teams, different people were always over here. It was like open door policy, food all the time. We fed so many boys in this house. It's crazy. And that's why I think that I sometimes could never get rid of this house, because this house has so many memories of helping so many people. And then, 9 years later, here comes Michael coming up with his friends, which was more hysterical because Ronnie being older, and Michael's entire baseball team, our football team, would be over here, especially the travel baseball team, the Diamondbacks. So any of those boys who are listening, or their families listening to this, I know you're smiling right now, because you know that we all lived at each other's houses. And Ronnie would come home from college, and it's like he would open up the front door, and those kids would come running in from the cul-de-sac from baseball and open up the back door and go into the swimming pool. And then Ronnie would open up the back door, and the kids would come running through just like a little herd and go right back out to the cul-de-sac and play baseball. And it was fun. It was, everybody going to bed, but bodies were laying everywhere. And you'd wake up in the morning, and they were on the floor, and they were on the couch, and they were, on beds. And, if they had a game, what was so funny is how they would sleep in their uniforms. And some of them would have their shirts tucked in with their belts on. And some of them even slept with their hats on. It's just kind of funny. And again, in real estate, your phone's always going off. So mine's over here ringing, and I've already missed 2 calls, but that's real estate. It was a great life. It was a great life with my family. It was a great life knowing that, people were coming over swimming. Brian always had the grill fired up with not just, one item. It was like, 4 items on the grill. So there was a variety for people to eat. It was, the kids. It was great knowing that the families trusted us, that, the kids could stay here. They could hang out here all weekend. And the same, my kids could go to one of the baseball players' houses and stay. And it was just a family. And so we were the Diamondbacks, and it was just a Diamondback family. And that was a real special time that I knew was special then. But of course, being older now, in the kids being older, I really can reflect on how special it is. And my sidekick Jax just walked by, in case, I don't know if you caught him or not. Hey, you gonna be a part of this today? So, when you're at home, your dogs are a part of your world. You gonna listen and talk too? Okay. So it was just a great lifestyle. It was a great way of growing up. My kids are close. Um, they're still close with the same friends, and the families. I'm still close with them. All the kids, their families, and it was just a great way. To grow up in a great neighborhood. Living in Goose Creek, living in Crowfield. You know, watching my kids grow up, watching them just, mature from kindergarten to where they are now, and, watching everybody just grow, and the kids change, and some joined the military, and some moved away, and some went to college, and those who played ball and those who didn't. And, it was just fun being a part of that. And so this part of my life is interesting because sometimes it's like when people talk about empty nest, it's like I totally get it now. I totally understand empty nest because it's quiet. My world's quiet now. And I step back and think sometimes, like, whoa, I didn't prepare myself for this, where I just prepared myself for kids and work and family and driving around and, going to this, going to that, taking care of this, taking responsibilities, which is great. Now it's like silence. And like, who am I? Like, I'm not Ronnie's mom anymore and Mikey's mom anymore. I'm still the real estate agent, I'm still a worker, still doing that and kicking butt in it. But who am I now? And I never thought that I would get to that place in my life that it would be like, who am I? It's the silence, the empty nest, the empowerment of, owning your business and working it is great. Being a woman, owning your business, making your money, and, you're enjoying what you're doing, but it's like, that's half of what I am. And the other half got silent. Um, and so, I know anybody who's like going through this with me, are going through it too, and maybe you're not talking about it, but now understand that there are people out here going through that with you. So hey, reach out to me. If you need to talk about it, or you need a friend, or you need someone to hang out with. I get it, because we just don't always have our kids in the activities that we were involved in. So it's silent. It's definitely silent, but it's good. It's good to watch your kids grow up. It's good to watch them become successful. Um, it opens up more for, I used to go horseback riding. I had owned a horse at one point in time. Don't do that anymore, but I think I'm going to start that back. So I think what I have to do is just kind of reinvent me again, where last week we were talking about, or this, we had that podcast with my marketing person, Holly Kitchens. And, we talk so much about like reinventing me and reinventing me as my brand, but I have to reinvent me as, Connie, a person, not just reinvent me, Connie, as, the realtor in a different market, getting marketing out here, getting onto social media, starting a podcast, um, you know, ramping up everything, so I can, get me out there, show who I am and what I do, show the stability that I have in the community to be able to help people buy a house or sell a house. I now have to reinvent me as, a woman. And, where am I at now, and what am I going to do, and, finish out, so many, X amount of years. So it's scary, but yet it's exciting. Because now I can do anything I want, when I want, how I want, where I want. I don't really have to answer to anybody except my phone. And that's exciting, scary, but it's a good thing. It's a good position to be in life if you make it that good position to be in your life. Um, and I just know that until I started going through this, I'm sure that there are other women going through it. I'm sure there are men going through it as well. But I can't really, speak on the man's perspective since I'm not a guy. So I can only speak on the woman's perspective as a girl, that, it's a different world that I'm in. From going through a house that's, this big with this much space that seems so crowded with all the fun and the parties and, the events, the people, coming in and out, to this big house, and it's silent except for the dogs. And the puppy's entertaining too, so she's kind of fun with Snowy. And now Snowy and Jax are kind of entertaining each other, so that's kind of fun. So that kind of brings a sparkle throughout the day when you're working from your house. But I like it. I like real estate. I love my real estate. I would have never, I won't say I probably would not have gotten in this career. I know I would not have gotten into this career, if it wasn't for a certain person in my life. He talked me into it. He probably pushed me into it. I was kicking and screaming, but I did it, and he helped me out a lot. And, I always look at him as, a friend and a mentor. So I know I would have never gotten into real estate if it, wasn't for this gentleman in my world, because he is probably very instrumental in me, stepping out and doing a lot of things I would have never done. And, and I'm grateful for him for that. Because again, I just wouldn't be in real estate. So, he kind of kicked me into this career, because I didn't know if I could do it. I was always a W-2 employee, counted on that paycheck every 2 weeks. The sales was just not an option. And so he was like, you can do this, I guarantee you're going to make X amount of dollars, you can do this, we'll do it together, and, we'll make it. And we did. And, I'm still not, it's kind of an interesting way to be your own business owner. And I think I learned mostly from the mistakes that I made. I remember the first couple years, it's like I was afraid to spend money, because when you did your taxes, I didn't know what the heck I was going to owe. And so if anybody has any questions about that, absolutely get a hold of me, because I think, what I can tell you is, anything that went wrong, could have gone wrong, or feared, or, mistakes, that's when you learn. So I've been there, done that, learned it. But I remember at the end of the year, when you're sitting there holding all your money to write the IRS, a $25,000 check or a $30,000 check, it's like, okay, we got to do this just a little bit different, because I would like to spend my money during the year and not fear what I owe Uncle Sam. So, fix that, got that under control, totally understand it now. And like I said, anybody who needs a little bit of guidance or mentorship, give me a call. I'll be glad to tell you what I did wrong, so you don't do it wrong. You started off in the beginning the right way, so you actually can spend some money and find the balance. Find the balance in what you're spending, what you're saving, just how to work the business side of real estate. And, it helps to have a good accountant also, so we definitely have that. So that'll be a nice shout out to Chip Summers with Brody Summers and Wilkes in Orangeburg. That gentleman has taken care of me for 10 years, and my business partner for 20 plus years, I believe. So he does a really good job. So anybody looking for a CPA, great accountant, Chip Summers is your guy. Wouldn't be financially that direction without him, and just good guidance. And I can call him anytime. And it's always good to have a good accountant on your side. If people talk about having an attorney, you have a doctor, you need an accountant. You need a realtor, but you need an accountant too. So Chip Summers, big shout out to him. And going back and talking about real estate, I switched my license over to EXP. And, for just that moment, to talk about EXP, I think it's a really cool model. The reason why I switched to EXP was different opportunities. And I think this alignment with EXP, with the market being the way that it is going to probably, in my mind, can make that connection of why I did it, because of the passive income. So a lot of the tools I was paying for with Charleston Homes Real Estate, I get with EXP. So what I was paying for now comes with being a part of EXP. So that's saving money for me. When it comes to the stock option, since it's a nationally traded company, I get stock. I didn't have that before. So that's a big bonus coming over to EXP, that I have the stock. And now if I get people to come over to EXP as their sponsor, there's a passive income because EXP rewards me by paying me for those people when they close. So those people aren't paying me, the agents that I bring over. EXP is rewarding me because of helping, EXP grow. So that's, one of the reasons why I came over to EXP. So actually, there's three reasons why I came over to EXP. But I also like the sense of, I went to EXP Con in 2021. So I switched my license, and I think within a week I was off to Las Vegas for EXP Con. That was very interesting. I have never gone to, that kind of convention. And it was great, listening to the speakers. I kind of learned a real quick about what EXP was about. I knew very little, so I learned a lot more. And it kind of, like I said, it kind of cemented in that was a brokerage that was a better move for me to go to right now than owning my own brokerage, just because of the other opportunities for income. So if your real estate's slowing down for you personally with buying and selling, if you're getting low on your listings, or you're struggling with your buyers, just know that, if you're working hard and pressing hard, that your stock is behind you. That's going to work for you if you make your numbers, but you can also make extra contributions into stock. And the people that you bring on, they are going to be out there selling, homes and working with buyers. So when they close, you've got an income coming from that as well. So the model is really interesting. I think we're going to be putting up, a new podcast, kind of an intro I'm going to do leading into one of my coaches. He just kind of revamped the whole EXP model, and I watched it, a couple days ago, and it's very well done. So anybody who, we'll get that up about Jay Kinder and what he's talking about. So that's one of my coaches. And I just think this is going to be a really good move for me. So if I trusted that I own my own brokerage, Charleston Homes, and I left to go to EXP, that I did it for a reason. So if anybody wants to call me and talk about it, or, message me and talk about it, I'll be more than happy to send them information as well, as far as what EXP has to offer. So I guess I feel like if Jay Kinder could do it, as successful as he was switching over to EXP, and he's exponentially more successful than I am. And if I did it, there's something behind it. So if you don't understand, or maybe you heard a little bit about EXP and you want to hear a little bit more, just reach out to me and we can talk about it. Sorry, I had a call in between. Had to grab that real quick. I saw who it was and it was pretty important. So I had to stop and grab that real fast. So, again, with real estate, you just, you never know what call you're going to get. You never know what's going to happen, and you just have to be able to go with it. So what's interesting, I was talking about driving around. The gas prices are absolutely killing me right now. Anybody who knows me, and you can see by Crushing It with Connie White, I have my H2 on my shirt because that is what I drive, and gas prices are insane. So try driving. I'm sure anybody driving a big truck understands my pain, but darn, we're like putting in, $100 every other day in this car. So hopefully that will level out real soon. Otherwise, y'all may see me sporting around a different car with better gas mileage, not just branding me with my H2. So it's a lot of fun driving that car. I get a lot of compliments. It's exciting. Some people, I'll get out the car and they're like, oh my gosh, here's this little woman driving this big, H2. I guess it's no different than, us women who drive trucks jumping out, and we're small and you've got this big truck that you're driving. But, I feel safe in that car. That's part, besides branding me, I've always driven it. And, people know me for the white Hummer. But that white H2, I could be in Goose Creek and someone will call me in Mount Pleasant and say, hey, I saw you in Mount Pleasant today. And I'm like, nah, actually I kind of roll with it like I was, anybody I think who sees the H2 now, it's branded me. Hopefully soon that, I've got the H2, but we have also ordered some Corvettes, and I'm hearing from the place that we ordered that we may be able to finish out our order in the next couple weeks, and then potentially, hopefully, get the car within 2 months after the order. So my branding of my H2 may be turning into a branding of a 2022 Corvette, white, but that'll be fun. So I'll enjoy, riding around that for a little bit while until I decide on something else. Oh my gosh. So Jax has been here. If anybody knows me, they know Jax. Jax was supposed to be a pit bull that I got a long time ago, well, 5 years ago, from one of my clients. And Jax turned out to be a Great Dane mix with a pit bull. So a lot taller, bigger, and much more high maintenance than I expected. Huh. Yeah, you hear me. And so, of course, here's Snowy. She just walked in the room. Yeah, how you doing? So she's my little multi-poo that I just got. I guess you're like 10 weeks old now. But she's been fun. Her and Jax are finally like connecting, and she like beats Jax up. So anybody listening, I don't even know if she weighs maybe 4 pounds, possibly. And Jax weighs 80, but she beats him up. And she tries to crawl on him, and she tries to play, and she growls and barks at him. And he just looks like, what the heck is that? But he's pretty good. He's really good with her. He's pretty cool. So I think that's it for today. I hope I did okay for my first solo podcast, and I didn't bore anybody too much. But I appreciate you listening in to Crushing It with Connie White.